Thanks for coming out. This is lovely. It's wonderful to be here with you and to be with Maestro Luisi. First of all, I would like to congratulate you on your Grammy Award for the Ring Cycle. And I don't know if any of you were at Directorial last night or heard on Sirius. It was pretty much on fire. It was really exciting. By the end of the first act, I just didn't even know what to say. And we were on Sirius. I just stopped talking and let the audience carry the day because it was amazing. When a performance is going well like that, you must feel it probably more keenly than anyone else, I would imagine.
Well, you know, the point of view of the conductors is sometimes a different one than for the audience, because as a conductor, you are the one which is keeping the flow and let's do it. You are the one who pushes. At the same time, you are also the one who needs to be in control of everything. So these two different aspects should be put in balance. And sometimes I feel after a performance, it was a terrible performance and everything went wrong and I didn't like, it was so boring. And people come and say, it was fantastic, it was so exciting, and how did you do it so different than the last time? So I tend to lose the real, yes, I don't have the distance, the necessary distance to evaluate the quality. I can say it was okay, it was fine, nothing wrong or nothing bad happened, but it's very difficult to me to understand or to feel that it was something special. And sometimes I have the feeling, oh, it was a very good performance. And then my wife comes, are you tired tonight? But actually, concerning now, yesterday's performance, I also felt, especially after the end of the first act, a very strong connection between the stage, the orchestra, and me, and it had a special intensity, which I could feel and I could really enjoy.
Just before we began, we were standing up here talking, and I said I'm going to ask you about the fact that you're conducting all three cycles. And I said, were you given the opportunity to just do a couple of them, or did you say, I want to do all three? And he gave me a very interesting answer and an insight that I don't know why I didn't come up with. Would you relate that again?
Well, actually, it is important to me. I consider the introduction, the 3 days of Nibelungen as one work. It is one work, and Wagner conceived it as one work, big work, as a mirror of life, a mirror of existence, a mirror of a universe, and so do I. And it is for me it would be very strange to do the first one, the second one, maybe the third one, and after Siegfried not doing the Götterdämmerung, because I consider already the last note of the Götterdämmerung conducting the first note of Rheingold, because it's a big, huge, long bow above those operas. And when in the last season I took over Siegfried and Götterdämmerung, and then at the end of this season we had a couple of full cycles in which I couldn't do the last two performances because I had other duties in Europe, unfortunately. And I thought, like, cut off of this production, and
like you left too soon.
Yes, I had to leave right after the last Walküre, and I felt for the days after, like something is not in balance. Yes, it's like playing a Beethoven sonata on the piano, and you cut off the last movement. Is strange. It's
You
not
had to
right.
help. You had to help Brunhilde wake up, and you couldn't. You weren't going to be there.
Well,
You were
I actually
responsible.
called Debbie. How is going? And did he wake you up? And how are you feeling?
But plus the fact we have these. We had not fully different casts, but for 2 cycles we had one cast, and then for a 3rd cycle, or sometimes in cycle 2 or in cycle 3, there were some characters who cycled in and out. So we have changed some cast members, but that's not the same for the conductor. Maestro Luisi said to me, he didn't put it this way, I put it back to him, I said, so this is your concept, this is your vision, and for you to do cycles 1 and 2 and then not do 3, that would be disruptive to your cast and your orchestra.
Yes, of course. But I'm not working on the team, so it's not of course it's my point of view on the ring, but I have to interact also with the singers, and every singer has a personality and his ideas about the role, which I respect and which I tend to involve in my concept, in my musical concept of the work. So it's not that I conduct no matter who is singing on stage. It is important to me to have a relationship, to have a contact, a mutual feeling. And this feeling is sometimes different if I have different singers.
So you're always adjusting?
Yes, but in the good meaning of the word, adjusting. I'm not adjusting because I'm correcting. I'm adjusting because I'm trying to have as I said, a mutual feeling. I'm not trying to correct, I must be slower now for this singer, or I have to push because he has air problems or breathing problems. It's not this. It is much more, I respect his personality and he respects my personality, and we have to find the common line which we are very, very happy with.
During intermissions, and this sort of feeds into this question, because I said to him, you must be exhausted, and he says, yes, it takes a lot out of me. During intermissions, is that actually a time for you to rest, or do you have duties to your singers still as well, or members of the orchestra?
Sometimes, yes. Sometimes singers who are members of the orchestra visit me in the intermission in order to talk about different issues, not always related to what we are doing in that very moment. This is okay for me, it's not distracting. The intermission is a physical rest, but the intermission is for me not breaking my concentration for the opera.
Now, of course, at the Metropolitan Opera, if we're doing a radio broadcast or an HD transmission, you may be called upon to do an interview. Do you see this as, because what HD and what radio from back in the 30s when we first started doing broadcasts on the Saturday matinees has been bringing opera out to audiences all over the world. Is this good, bad? Are you indifferent to it? It is creating a bigger audience for opera?
I think it is important, and it is definitely good, because we are bringing opera to people which are not used to come to the opera house. We are bringing this production at the highest possible level, and so they can enjoy in their environment and probably get a treat and getting curious about going to an actual opera house, the real opera house, because the feeling is different. HD and radio broadcast is wonderful, but it is not the real thing. So we can consider it just as an invitation to look what we are doing or listen what we are doing, and it's so exciting, it's so magnificent, and try to come to us and to enjoy the real thing, which is sitting in the audience, looking at stage, listening to the orchestra.
There are a couple of ways to look at it, and I looked at it that way for a long time too, and yet, don't anybody here tell anybody at the Met that I've been asking these questions. Does it set up, it seems to me that it sets up a parallel approach to attending opera. There's going to the house, and there's going to a movie theater and listening on the radio. It's more like going to the movie theater. It's more like attending an opera. And I see all the good in it. It's a completely different experience, but it's not going to go away, is it? I mean, everyone seems to be picking up on this.
Absolutely. And what the Metropolitan is offering with its HD broadcasting is there is an plus experience, because you can see what's happening behind the scenes, and this is very interesting.
I love that.
Yes, because even me, I'm not allowed to see what they are doing because I'm conducting. And in the intermission, I'm in my dress room. I'm not allowed to be on stage because the technicians are working, and so we artists are not allowed to be there because it's dangerous and we bother them. But the audience at home or in the movie theaters, they are allowed to see what's happening. This is really something I miss, and something I'm happy they can do.
And it's very interesting. It's fascinating.
Interesting.
When Wagner lovers don't hear his music for a long time, they crave it. I know I do, and I'm going to guess you guys do too. You get a little hint of a thought in your head, and you think, oh my gosh, I got to hear that some more. It's like it's a sensual experience. For someone like you, it's your bread and butter. You do it all the time. Do you crave that sound? Do you need to hear that as well?
Yes, I need that music. I need that style. I need those operas. And I am terrified because in the next 2 years I'm not going to conduct any Wagner operas. And I don't know how I can survive this.
I really sympathize with you because we're not doing any Wagner next season at the Met, and I was thinking the same thing.
Yes.
How am I going to survive?
This will be very difficult. It will be very hard.
Oh my gosh, so it is.
But we have the DVD and the Blu-ray.
Yes.
It's our production service.
John Fisher, who is helping to prepare, he's doing coaching for us, and he was at one time the Director of Music Administration at the Met, came up for an interview last night, and I asked him the same question, or it was similar. I said, do you have a favorite part of Die Walküre? And his head practically hit the table. He couldn't come up with just one. And he said, even the most obvious, the ride of the Walküres, he said, look, I hear this 1,000 times. It still makes my skin tingle. It still, gets me all goosebumpy. It just never goes away, does it? It's just always with you.
It doesn't go away. And it doesn't go away for many reasons. Because first of all, it's great music. Second of all, it fits in the scene. It's such an amazing scene. When did we have, before Wagner, before this opera, so many ladies singing the same thing on stage? Beautiful ladies, great voices, great music. This is really unique. And Wagner was very, very clever, very smart, and he put this hit of Walküre not in the first act, not in the second act, not at the end of the first or the second act, at the beginning of the third act, where nobody could expect such a unbelievable music. So he knew what he did.
Now, you've probably all heard this question dealt with 1,000 times. You're the Wagner Society. But Maestro Luisi, I wonder if I can hear from you what you think makes Wagner such a singular composer, such a singular artist in all of artistic history.
I think in the 19th century, Wagner is, together with Verdi, the biggest genius in music, in opera music. Why? Not only because of the music, because we have a lot of other geniuses in the music, but because he had a sense of theater. And this is the real difficult thing. We have Brahms, who was not interested in theater. We have Beethoven, who was not good at theater. We have Schumann, who was not good at theater. But we have Wagner in his sensibility, in German culture, sensibility and tradition, and Verdi in the Italian way, which is quite different. And this makes Wagner unique. And to put the Middle European, not only German, but more Middle European culture in his work, nobody did it, only him.
Was it Nietzsche who said something about his writing being so very German, that he saw it as almost too much so? Does it help for a performer, a singer, a conductor to bring an Italianate quality to his operas?
Well, define German and define Italian. This is difficult. What is German? It's Heinrich Heine or Heidegger. Is Beethoven or Mendelssohn. It's hundreds of other examples. So you have so many different aspects of the Germanism, of being German. What is German? Is what we think is German always serious and always very deep and always heavy? This is not Heine. Heine is light poetry, is sensitivity, is sensibility, but it's German nevertheless. So Wagner is all of this, and this is the genius. He could really be fun, like in Siegfried or Meistersinger. Mm-hmm. He could be deep and earnest, and what it could be, and this is the core of the question, could be a mirror of life. So in his masterworks, like Meistersinger or The Ring or Parsifal maybe, you have a microcosm of life. This is life. Everything what in life happens. You have tragedy, you have love, you have power, you have family, you have relationships, and all those aspects taken in the most beautiful, understanding and sensible way. So you explain it through music, what is happening in everyone's life.
And completely unique music and
it's a
harmonies.
Well, the way he chooses is his style, but not concerning the style. It is to explain with his music what's happening, what's really happening in life, what's life about. This is the trademark of his genius.
So much is said about directors' concepts of Wagner's rings without singling any out. Do you have sympathy for directors who attempt the ring, or do you think they're just completely mad?
I have sympathy for directors who respect the work. And respecting the work doesn't mean to tell the story like we have heard the story thousands of times. They can tell the story in a different way. But they have to show respect for the story, respect for the music, respect for the meaning of the opera. I have respect for this kind of director, for those directors. And I don't respect, I don't like directors who don't take seriously what they are doing. And concerning Wagner, especially in Europe, we have very, very disappointing and bad examples of directors who actually hated Wagner, his music and his work, and nevertheless they staged it. And I'm wondering myself, why do you do it if you don't believe in it?
How much control do you have over that, though? Sometimes can you choose, I would imagine at your point in your life, you can choose which directors you want to work with, who you think will probably have a good outcome, or something that you can just psychologically get along with.
Well, there are directors with whom I like to work, and there are directors with whom I know I cannot work. I have declined the offer from Bayreuth to do a production there because I was convinced the director they proposed to me is not the right one. Or maybe it is the right one, but it's not the director with whom I'm convinced to do a good work on that special opera, and so I declined it.
Do you know what the production is going to be like, or is it pitched to you? Does the director say, here's my concept, and you can say yes or no?
I know now that I was right, because I have seen the production, and I don't like I have seen the production, and I hated the production, and I know, and I told to Mrs. Wagner at the time, look, I'm not bothering you. I'm not a scandal type. But I know if I'm working with him, in a week we have a fight, and that's not the way you want to work on your festival. And so I withdraw myself from production.
And this is interesting because sometimes I wonder if there are different approaches, not directly directorial approaches, but maybe just ways of approaching the ring that are different from area to area. What works in New York doesn't work in Paris. And so do you have to adjust yourself to the country or the culture that you're in?
No, I don't adjust myself, because the music is the same music, the opera is the same opera, no matter if we are doing it in Zurich or in Italy or in Bayreuth or in New York. So I'm not adjusting myself. I know that the expectation of the audiences sometimes are different. And so I respect the choices of the institutions, of the opera houses, how to present something. And but this is not my core issue. My core issue is to do the music and to work together with the director.
I don't know if you can get into any specifics about expectation. How would you say they differ from culture to culture or country to country?
Well, it's the question of tradition, I think. I think the audience here in New York, the metropolitan audience, expects to have a story told. So they want to hear and to see and to listen to the story. It's important. And it must be presented intelligently and with sensibility and with a beautiful optical level. So we need it, actually. There are other houses where audiences are used to a more, how can I say, more audacious approach. And, but not because they like it more, but they are used to it, so they can accept it more. And this is interesting. Just, I'm not talking about Wagner now, but I did a couple of months ago a new production of Rigoletto in Zurich. And it was a very, as I say, audacious production, because the set on stage you had all the time a table like this, double so long. And around this table happened everything in Rigoletto. It is something I liked very much, because the director did a great work on the personality of the actors, on the personality of the singers, on the personality of the roles. It was very much so acting and singing centrated, and not with opulence or with great pictures you could see on stage. It was quite essential, but it was good. He had respect for the piece, and it explained the piece in a very strong way. But I told to Peter Gell, Peter, this is not for New York.
Not for New York.
No, because the expectations are different. And as presenters of works of art and music, we have to respect the expectation of our audience.
Can you tell us some of the choices, aside from simple, or maybe tempi are not necessarily simple choices, that you make in interpreting the score of The Ring? You said, starting from the beginning of, downbeat of Das Rheingold, you were thinking of, the downfall of the gods at the end of Götterdämmerung. What are some of the things you take into account to make that all happen from beginning to end?
I try, when Rheingold, especially at the very beginning and at the very end of the opera, has a taste of glory for the gods, has a taste of magnificence, a taste of perfection. We already see in Rheingold that the gods are not perfect at all. They are like humans, maybe worse than humans. In Wagner's side, they are worse than humans, but the real humans are, or half humans are Sieglinde and Sigmund and Siegfried. They are the real heroes, because they are not gods. But I hear sometimes in old performances, singers, conductors, that this magnificence, the perfection, this glory, this heavy, this feeling of omnipotence, it's too big in Rheingold. So I think already when Wotan is talking about Valhalla, I think it's not gonna happen. What you think? It's taking another way.
You can tell.
And I try to demonstrate this musically. So this is the reason I have been attacked about it, because some tell me it's not Wagner we like, it's not this big and slow and opulent Wagner we are used to. I say, it's okay, I like that Wagner too, because I grew up with that kind of, let's say, Karl Böhm or Karajan Wagner, which is great Wagner, I admire a lot, but I have another idea. So,
last night,
I'm not saying my idea is better. I'm just saying my idea is different.
and there are so many opinions, especially about Wagner, and you're going to run into every single one of them, and people are going to write about them, and they're going to talk about them, and you can't get away from it. When did you grapple with the fact that no matter what choice you made, somebody was going to be, or lots of people were going to be not in agreement with you.
Oh, that's normal. You have to live with it. It's absolutely normal. I respect every meaning, but you know, you cannot make everybody happy. And so I don't like the middle way. I don't like to be in a way in order to make the most of people happy. I believe in my profession, I believe in my job, I believe in my passion for music. And I think music has to tell something very precisely. It's not just a soundtrack. That's what I hate. Opera is not the soundtrack of what is happening on stage, because we are in the orchestra, and especially in Wagner, we are the thoughts of the people who is on stage. So you can read their thoughts if you listen to the orchestra, no matter what they are saying. And this is my duty to make their thoughts understandable.
What does your orchestral score look like? Is it a mess? Have you ever written in tons and tons of things?
No. It is quite boring looking at it, because it's just the score with a couple of signs, which I did with pencil. Is just technical things. There are the cues for some instruments and conducting patterns, so right technical. Sometimes I make some notes if for example there is a wrong note in the score, and I have to make sure this is really a wrong note and it is not voluntary by Wagner, and I have to check it out with the scores of the orchestra and with older scores of the work I'm working on. But it's quite a normal score. I have some colleagues who they are so gifted. They make drawings, and in the fortissimo they draw a lion, something like this. It's great. I love it, but I can't do it.
Last night, another one of the guests during intermission of Directorial was Mark Delavan, who for the first two cycles sang Wotan. And I asked him when he first approached the role, what did he start with? And he said he went straight to Wotan's monologue, that someone had said to him, do the monologue first, really learn that, do yourself a favor.
In Wagner or?
In Wagner. When you first took on the ring, did you attack something first that you thought was going to be your biggest challenge and then sort of work out from there?
No, I never do that. I just start from the first page of the score and going through until the last page. So, and I work on it. Of course, there are passages which need more time because I'm not sure, or I have questions for myself, and I have to think longer about them. But it's a chronological approach.
Yeah, but people must ask you all the time. It's a very typical interview question. Has the music changed for you over time? And usually the answer is yes, because especially Wagner keeps blooming for people. Is there anything you have to do to keep these operas, or any operas that you conduct a lot, from being rote, something that you do too often and you grow too accustomed to? Do you have to do something or tell yourself something to freshen it?
Two things. The first one, I don't approach the opera at all. Let's say, if I do a project, let's say I do Rigoletto, and then for 2 years I don't do Rigoletto. In those 2 years, I don't listen to any performance or recording of Rigoletto, because I know I'm doing Rigoletto again after 2 years, so I want to have a break for Rigoletto in order to start fresh again with Rigoletto, and not to be forced to compare every time I hear another interpretation to the way I did it. So I try to stay away and far away from Rigoletto for 2 years, because I know I will need time to have a new, fresh approach to it in order to avoid routine. And this is the first. And the second is a natural procedure, because you get older, you get different. It's not different. Maybe it's not necessarily different the approach you have to an opera when you do it again, but you are different because you change in these 2, 3, 4 years. I did a ring cycle in 2006, and it was my first ring cycle in Dresden. In 2007, I did another ring cycle. The first time 3 ring cycles, the second time only 2 ring cycles. They were quite similar because we had only 4 or 5 months in between. Then the big gap, I started with ring again, taking over from Maestro Rheingold, and then later Valkyrie, and I had a gap of 6 years. In those 6 years, I changed a lot, willingly, but also because I changed and I did things different. And the second gap from the last season, when I did 2 cycles or 3 cycles, I don't know, and now, so probably it changed too. There, I didn't revise it because it's the same production, and part of it was my production. I'm talking about Siegfried and Götterdämmerung.
Yes.
So I didn't change a lot. I changed because we had other singers, some parts of the cast, but it was pretty much the same approach.
But the orchestra will play these things over and over again. They don't have the luxury of being able to take some time away from real bread and butter operas. How would you freshen them up? You must hear when they're playing something just sort of by memory or without really thinking about it, without being artistic about it. That's your job to wake them up, isn't it?
It is, and actually,
it's only human.
It's normal, it's human, and it is beautiful that the orchestra offer his point of view to the conductor. So when we rehearsed now 4 weeks ago, Rheingold and Valkyrie again, they offered me what they are used to playing, and which is beautiful, and most of it I accept with the biggest pleasure because it's so gorgeous how they play. Some other things I prefer that in my way, and so they accept my point of view. This is a very mutual, very beautiful and exciting cooperation.
It must be hard to walk into a ring cycle that someone else has started. Maestro Levine had begun that ring cycle and take over. I mean, you were the one who just said you did the first 2 operas in one set of performances and then you had to leave and it felt very disjointed to you. How do you blend then and then make the orchestra become or play in a way that you envision this performance? It just takes time?
I was fortunate because the vision of Maestro Levine about the ring is just great. And the orchestra has a big tradition. The orchestra knew the ring only under the hands of Maestro Levine, and this is a fantastic way to do the ring. And I was fortunate because I didn't have much to do and much to say because most of it is just perfect. Nevertheless, I brought my personality, which is quite different than Maestro Levine's personality. Our roots are different, our experience is different. And the orchestra understood it, and it's not a question of correcting something, but it's just a question of adequate the way of playing or phrasing to the personality of the new conductor. And I adjusted also my vision to the personality of the orchestra.
We all know that Wagner's operas impose a different sense of time. That often scenes are very stretched. Monologues can be long, 25 minutes, 18 minutes or such. My first question about that, and we all have to get into an altered sense of time to enjoy it, and we do so very much. Why do you think Wagner did that, first of all?
He was in need of explanation. It's not only explanation with the text, but explanation only with the music. We are talking about concepts and feelings which are so complex and deep, you cannot face them in 3 minutes. It's not a pop song, right? In 3 minutes, you to say one concept and it's already too long for this concept. He needs this time because the concept is complicated. So you need musically as well as for the word. So you need this time. And we are not used to it anymore. Our time, our age is an age of reflex, and it's everything must be fast and quick and effective and essential, and 5 minutes talking about an issue is already too long because we can solve it in 1 minute and I have to go and they're waiting for me, and, you know. And so it's a different time reception we have, it's a time feeling we have now than 200 or 150 years ago. But we have to give time to this music and to the explanation. It doesn't mean that we have to we should ignore the phrases, the periods. There are periods in this music, even in the big monologue of Wagner in the conductor Valkyrie. It's a musical period you have to respect. So you cannot. There is a word I invented because I couldn't find the word in the English language, which I have in Italian or also in German. In Italian is syllabare, and in German is buchstabieren. There is not such word in English. And so I invented it, and I told to my officer, don't syllabate this place. They understand, because they understand it. I mean, don't play like this, but play nevertheless which tempo we have, even if the most low tempo. Never play this, but always play this. So play the bow, play what is under this imaginary slur, which makes sense in everything Wagner wrote. And I think this is the secret.
Got to my second question, which is, what does that mean for a conductor? So there's no part 2 of that question. You know how your brain can work on, it might not even know it's working on a problem, and all of a sudden you're doing something completely mindless, like brushing your teeth, and all of a sudden something clicks in. It's the aha moment. Oh my gosh, I suddenly realized I know how to do X or Y. Does that happen to you with such a vast work that the brain is? There must be moments where your brain just comes up with solutions to problems you didn't even realize you had, or questions you had about it, out of nowhere.
I try, and I tend to exclude those moments.
Oh.
Yes, because there is the moment of the study, which is the most important part. Well, not the most important part, but it's a fundamental part of my life. So, in this moment of study, let's take from the other way. If it happens, and sometimes it does, I'm very unhappy, because it means I have not studied enough. Because such moment I should have had them in the period of my study. If it happens when I'm conducting or rehearsing, it's too late. I'm very unhappy with myself. Because it means, why haven't I thought about it before? I should have.
Are there any misconceptions about Wagner that you hear people get, state that you want to correct?
I don't want to correct anything. I think, everyone has the right to have a meaning, to have an opinion about everything, and therefore also about Wagner.
There are so many.
There are many opinions I don't share. The opinion Wagner should be slow. I don't share this opinion. The opinion Wagner should be heavy. I don't share this opinion. Wagner should have gravity, yes, but especially but also in Valkyrie, in secret, you have a moment of unbelievable brilliance. It is really like Mendelssohn, and there you see the roots, the real roots of Wagner. The real roots of Wagner are Weber and Mendelssohn, and this is what makes him a genius. So he can use those roots, and from those roots develop something new, what he did.
How hard or easy is it to pull together a Wagner cast?
It's very hard. It's very hard because this is a very dangerous path now. Because it is difficult because of two issues. The first issue is, if we listen to recordings of the beginning of the century, of the 20th century, with Wagner music, we have there completely different voices than we are used to now. So Wagner has been sung by more melodic voices than we expect to have now. And this is the second part of the problem. Heavy voices are harder to get because they need a development. And in our time of quick, fast, and push, sometimes we don't give the singers time to develop their voice. So the normal way was first Rosalinde and Traviata maybe, and then Agathe, and then Elsa, and then at the end, after 25, 30, 35 years, when the singer is in the right age, then Brünnhilde. Now, many of them start with 1 year Agathe, 6 months Elsa, then you have the voice of Brünnhilde. They sing Brünnhilde 2 years, and then we don't see them again.
Maybe also hard to find was a good Wagner chorus. Yes? From place to place.
We have the best here.
And our chorus reports to two maestros, Maestro Palumbo and to you. And of course, do you two have to agree in advance on certain things? How do you guys, about how the chorus should be prepared, what you're looking for? Do you guys talk in advance, you and Maestro Palumbo, in advance as he's preparing the chorus?
Yes, we do. But with Maestro Palumbo, he's the best chorus master I've ever met. And we know each other since many years, and so I trust him completely and without any reserve.
Which of Wagner's non-ring operas do you think is the most underappreciated and you would like to see performed more often?
Rienzi.
Rienzi.
So, Rienzi.
Can you tell us more?
Yes, because it is a very important transition work from the, let's say, Italian Wagner roots to the real German Wagner roots. For the first time, he used other new, huge proportions in scenes, and he uses the voices more for the bringing of the words and less for the bringing of the melody. And this is this is for Wagner a very important transition. And because I love the virtual.
I'm going to wrap it up by just asking you, after you're done here with the ring, what do you do after this? Are you staying in New York, or are you running off somewhere?
I'm leaving right after the next Göttingen performance. We have on Saturday. I have a flight to Europe at the same day. And I start on Monday rehearsing Traviata in Genoa. And after the production, I'm going to Zurich with a music director, and we are starting a new production of Bellini. And it's not so far from Wagner as some could think. And the contrary, the roots of Wagner in the treatment of the voice come from Bellini, not from Rossini, not from Cimarosa, not from Donizetti, but from Bellini, who he admired a lot, like many other composers. And we are doing La Straniera from Bellini with Mrs. Gruberova. And in the same time, I'm doing a revival of Rigoletto, a revival of Rosenkavalier in Zurich.
I saw the website for the Zurich Opera. It really made my mouth water. I was
it's worth
dying.
Thank you so much, Margaret, for being here and helping the process along. It's just wonderful.